Greetings, this is Jed. For this particular video, I'll be speaking about the spiritual and metaphysical aspects or issues surrounding abortion. Currently, the subject of abortion has gained a lot of attention due to the legal issues surrounding it. Well, I'd like to focus primarily on the spiritual and psychological issues that are relevant, we could say, to abortion and its role in people's personal lives and in society as a whole. One thing I'd like to begin with pointing out is that there's a lot of emotion surrounding this topic. So people can have very strong opinions or viewpoints, and those are really often very charged with emotion. So there's actually a lot of fear and anger surrounding this issue as it comes into the public consciousness. So of course there are many women and men as well who are concerned about the legal aspect of what would happen if abortion rights, the ability to choose, were severely restricted or limited. So there's fear there and perhaps anger toward people who are trying to impose an opposing viewpoint. And similarly coming from the other polarity of viewpoints, there are people who have a lot of fear or anger about unborn children being killed from their point of view and what effect that will have on society. So these are things that we can start out with acknowledging that there is a lot of fear and anger, a lot of emotional charge concerning abortion. And when we have those strong emotions, that can affect our ability to explore or look at an issue from a more objective or expanded perspective. So whatever your current feelings or beliefs about this issue are, I invite you to put them to the side, at least for the moment, so that you can sort of ponder and explore the issues that I may bring up here. Certainly it's not my expectation that I'm going to change anyone's views or beliefs about this topic, but if you are viewing the video, then it would be valuable to, for the moment, consider whatever may be shared without trying to filter it through your existing beliefs. So one thing that I consider in this particular discussion is that we are spiritual beings and we are not merely our physical body. As spirits and souls, we exist prior to having this physical incarnation, and we exist beyond this physical incarnation. So with that construct or understanding, we'll consider that consciousness can look at the physical life experience from perspectives that are not just based upon human life or human survival. Also, my experience as a professional in the holistic wellness field includes working with hypnosis and regression therapy, and also interacting at different times with people who would be considered intuitives or psychics who have some form of communication with the spiritual realm. So with those forms of connecting to other layers of consciousness or other realms, there's the opportunity to access the perspectives that may be presented by forms of consciousness that are present in those other layers or realms. With abortion, you have a situation where a woman has a pregnancy that she's considering terminating or ending prior to its culmination. We can consider that this is a difficult, challenging choice for many women. There are a number of variables that could be present that can influence what decision a woman would make. And once that decision has been made, then there are various feelings and emotions and thoughts about it afterwards that can affect a woman in her psychological state. So whatever your beliefs may be about whether terminating those pregnancies is something right or wrong or justifiable or not, it's valuable to view the other people involved in those choices with love, compassion, and understanding. So rather than reacting or responding to the issue through anger or fear, let's do our best to have some love and understanding, some compassion for other people and the challenges they go through, the choices they'll be making, whether or not we may agree with that decision. And also it can be valuable to apply that same love, understanding, and compassion toward people who are very much involved in the public political debate about the issue. If people are trying to impose restrictions on abortions, for the most part, they tend to have the intention of protecting life. It's their belief that they are protecting the lives of unborn children. And whether you agree with their way of looking at this topic or not, it's better for all involved if you can perceive them with some compassion and understanding rather than anger, condemnation, or fear. So from my work as a spiritual healer and counselor, my intention is to help people in general have more love and understanding in their lives and their relationships, and to live with less anger or fear. Love and compassion are beneficial for our health and well-being, while chronic fear and anger tend to create negative psychological and physiological effects, not to mention the spiritual implications of carrying all that fear or anger with us. So when it comes to abortions, you have the mother and the unborn child who are both spiritual beings. Now the mother's existing in a sense as a human personality, functioning from that conscious level of awareness, while the unborn child that's growing inside of the mother, that consciousness, that spirit, could be thought of as kind of hovering around, so not fully embodied at that point in the pregnancy, but conscious of what the mother and the fetus or embryo are experiencing and going through. In my work with regression therapy, I've on a number of occasions encountered people accessing those memories of the time when they were, in a sense, in the womb. So the child was growing inside the mother, while that consciousness was aware of a variety of things occurring at that time, we'll say. So the spirit could be aware of what the mother is thinking and feeling, the father as well. So there are things going on that the fetus may not be aware of, in a sense, even though the spirit that will be incarnating in that child happens to be aware of. There's also the reality that in some sense souls are coming together to plan incarnations, so that spirit is in a way collaborating with the spirit of the mother and producing this human life experience and having that birth occur, and then the mother potentially raising that child. So from the spiritual realm, we could say there may be a choice being made whether that incarnation will culminate, whether it will be followed through with. There may be cases where the spirit decides at some point there to not proceed. On some level, the mother's spirit or soul and the baby's spirit or soul are choosing not to proceed with that particular birth. And if that happens to be the case, you might have a miscarriage, and in other cases it might be an abortion where the mother chooses to have that procedure or chooses to use some type of drug or some type of herb or substance that induces the abortion. So those are different possibilities. Now, whatever may play out in that regard, there are the emotional and psychological issues that are generated within the consciousness of those beings. For the mother, often it is a difficult choice whether or not to have the child. The mother may have fears and insecurities about being a mother, about taking care of a child. So there could be stress and anxiety related to that. And there could be challenges in the mother's relationship with the father. Those could be issues that are present. There can be strong religious belief systems. So the mother may feel pressured on a social or cultural level to make a choice in one direction or another. There may be pressures either to abort or to not abort, and how that interacts with the mother's spiritual or religious beliefs will affect how she psychologically processes that. It's fairly common for women to feel significant guilt or shame or regret later on after they've had an abortion, even if they felt in a practical sense that it was justified, that it was the best choice for the mother's well-being and the best choice for that child, in the sense that the mother felt or believed she wouldn't have been able to appropriately care for or put up for adoption that child. So there's those psychological issues that may be present. And then there's the issues that that spirit of the child, of the baby, whether the baby happens to be brought into this lifetime or whether the pregnancy is aborted in some manner, that spirit may have some reaction to what occurs or unfolds. So it may have an understanding and acceptance of what's occurring. It may perceive that it's in some sense for the better to not be incarnated through that mother at that time, while there are other situations where it may not process it in that manner, where there may be some feeling of being rejected, some type of negative reaction or response to what has occurred. So that type of emotional baggage, we can call that, could be carried by that spirit. In either case, when there are denser types of emotional energies that are generated, it's important to provide some type of healing for that to help facilitate peace and acceptance, so that both the mother and the child, or the spirit, you could say, of the child, are able to move forward, to not carry that heaviness, to not carry grief or sadness or anger or resentment or guilt or shame over whatever has occurred. So those are some of the spiritual and metaphysical implications that I would like to bring up here. It's not about deciding whether there is a fundamental rightness or wrongness to having an abortion. It's a part of the human experience, and many, many people will in some way encounter that phenomenon, whether it's as a mother, as a child or other family member, as a father or stepfather. So this is something that is valuable to consider and explore from this therapeutic aspect. And I do wish to reiterate that we can have compassion and understanding for anyone who's dealing with this issue from whatever perspective they may come to it with. Whether people are very much focused on the pro-choice idea, the concern that women will be able to determine what they do with their own pregnancy without being coerced by the law or by society or culture, as well as having understanding for those who are very much concerned with protecting life. And from their perspective, a fetus or embryo growing inside a woman is a human life, and they feel it needs to be protected. This is something that our society has been struggling with for a long time, at least in terms of considering how to address this from a legal manner. And with all the emotional energy around this, you currently can see a lot of polarization, a lot of people pushing one extreme or another in the legal realm. So there are people that want to completely restrict or ban abortions, and then there are others who want to sort of completely remove any restrictions to make it so that a woman would not face any legal consequence, even if she decides literally at the last moment of her pregnancy that she doesn't want to go through with having the child. So those extremes do exist there. It appears to me that most of the population actually sees this issue somewhere in between that, where there would be some type of middle ground, but that's somewhat separate from the concerns that I'm focusing on in terms of the psychological, spiritual, and metaphysical implications surrounding the abortion issue. I know that many people have a lot of emotion and passion with their feelings and beliefs about this. And I have a lot of respect for those who have passion and a lot of devotion to whatever cause they may happen to believe in. I would just encourage having the ability to have some understanding for people who are looking at the same issue from a different viewpoint, letting go of the need to impose your views on everyone or convince everyone that your idea is right and theirs is wrong, or condemning people for speaking out about what they believe. I appreciate each of you for taking your time to view and explore this topic that I've shared today. For those that are interested in holistic health and spirituality and wellness, you're invited to view my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. And for now, I'd like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.